We are living in a world where the global order is under strain for rivalry between major powers, and we see also a dangerous disregard for international norms. And in this moment, especially, I think we would need, I would say, principled leaders and strong independent institutions that act with integrity to protect the public interest. And that's what corruption clearly damages. We have what Vera showed a minute ago, which is often called illiberal democracy. And we have a kind of a rule of impunity. And impunity means that you have the exercise of power without accountability, which becomes, in its clearest form, the commission of crimes without punishment. This is what corruption is about. And when you think or reflect on the relationship between corruption and the limits of democracy, what should we do? I think that we've got four major effects that demonstrate that corruption distorts democracy. The first one is what Vera ended with, is that it depresses democratic participation. Study after study demonstrates that people are significantly less likely to vote when they view the political system as corrupt, because they believe, well, everybody does that way, we cannot trust anybody, so we don't even go to the polls. That is obviously the first effect. And to be clear, corruption's impact on democracy are not limited to places widely seen as chronically corrupt. And if we look at our EU globally, and without any name and shame, we see that it is a problem that we face in Europe too. The second dimension is a diminishment of citizens' willingness to punish corrupt leaders on the ballot box. Well, sometimes it happens, and rightly so, what happens in Hungary, but it was a really a bunch of people who confiscated all power in their favor, and that is as well media, politics, and economics.
And state administration.
And state administration. And this creates a cycle of wrongdoing goes unpunished. That's the second effect. The third one is that it's got a wider effect. It diminishes the quality and extent of government services. It decreases citizens' approval of the government all over the place. And for example, corruption has been shown to limit tax revenues, to increase government expenditures through off-box transactions, and also limits the efficiency of public administration, and it decreases what we can invest in social programs or education, which are our priorities, and it's also the case for environment. And the fourth effect is that the erosion of trust feeds directly into rising political polarization. As allegations of corruption proliferate, partisans become more inclined to view the opposition side not only simply as competitors, but also as enemies. You are the corrupt part, we are the corrupt part. And after all, nobody can decide. And so everybody's black in this situation, and democracy itself fades. And so corruption clearly is a mark of the limits of democracy. As I said before, of course we can see the world where countries are obviously corrupted. But it's also true in the Occident. There is a coalition about the US. We can see today the US also has a confiscation of power, and we can see that corruption is all over the place, I would say at the highest level. And this creates a problem for all of us. Corruption is not absent in Europe. Well, in Greece, I'm not going to talk a lot about Greece, although I've been involved in trying to solve the Greek program a few years ago. I would say that, certainly there have been efforts to contain corruption, but there are also changes in the form of corruption, and the European Public Prosecutor is still investigating on some cases in this country. In my own country, France, well, we've had a few laws, but it does not prohibit corruption to exist. And so, and by that, I believe, like Vera, that the involvement of the public opinion and civil society is major. It happens in some countries, you mentioned Albania, you also mentioned Macedonia. Gen Z feels that corruption is not acceptable. I'm afraid to say that in other countries like mine, well, they feel indifferent to what happens. As you may have seen, it's not about corruption, but it's about, I would say, an abuse of public position due to public money. Yesterday, there was an important decision. Madame Le Pen decided to run. I'm not going to comment that here, but obviously, we'll see in a few days whether people feel that's a game changer, that they cannot elect somebody who has been condemned. I'm afraid they will say that's not a problem. And Gen Z doesn't seem to be mobilized. That's why we clearly need to act, continue to act, as well at the European level, the international level, and the national level.